right, we're gonna call this meeting to order at 6:03 PM. At this time, we'd like to welcome everyone. Stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Review of the agenda, and so review and adoption of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes that they'd like to make?
So I'll ask Ms. McCoy if we need to excuse Ms. Rowland from the last meeting because she was on a school field trip. How do we make them put that in the minutes?
Yeah,
or-
we put that in the minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can, okay.
Okay, so any other changes? We just gonna put that in the minutes when we get on.
When you adopt the, I would do it when you adopt the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay. Okay.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Ms. Hall,
Second.
second by Mr. Kaiser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider approval of minutes from the May 27, 2025 regular board meeting.
So that's the one we need to,
Excuse me for being on a field trip.
so I'll make a motion.
It was at the 27th or the 29th?
No, I was here for the
27.
budget.
Okay, so the 27th.
Yeah, May 27th.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Mr. Kaiser, second by Ms. Hall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider approval of minutes from the May 29th, 2025 tentative budget board meeting. Everybody was here for that.
I make a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion by Ms. Hall,
I'll second that.
second by Ms. Thomas. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Clark County Public School recognitions. Ms. Stickler.
Good evening. All right, so tonight, we're going to recognize the Community Cornerstone Award. This award recognizes an individual, organization, or group that serves as a fundamental and enduring pillar within the community. Like the cornerstone of a building, their support provides stability, strength, and a solid foundation upon which their community initiatives and well-being are built. For years, the Elks Lodge has demonstrated an unparalleled commitment to strengthening the very fabric of our community. Their support is truly across the board, encompassing vital contributions to youth programs, educational initiatives, veteran support, family assistance, and local events. Through countless volunteer hours, generous donations, and dedicated leadership, the Elks Lodge consistently uplifts, enriches, and serves the diverse needs of our residents. They embody the true spirit of service, making our community a better place for everyone. We thank them for their unwavering partnership and steadfast dedication. They also serve a fantastic breakfast as a fundraiser on Saturday mornings. It is with immense gratitude and profound admiration that we present this Community Cornerstone Award to the Winchester Elks Lodge 2816. So at this time, if they could please come to the front.
You can hold that and we'll smile at this one.
All right, here we go. Great.
Thank you guys for everything.
Absolutely.
I guess I need to be quiet. Well, I mean, if you want to give a speech, I don't know.
You see how much time I got, because I got a meeting to go to. Look, Christina, don't leave me yet. Stay with me. I've been an Elks member for a long time. All right, this means a lot to us. Chris Ennis sits on my board. I'm the ER down there. Our main goals is kids, veterans, we give back to our community. As of in 4 days, will be the 25th anniversary of our lodge down here. All right, so we've been in Winchester for 25 years. We're one of about 2,800 lodges across the United States, Puerto Rico. We've got 2 lodges down there now. I'm proud of my members. I've been a member there a long time. I'm very proud of my members. I'd be more proud of my board. We're a nonprofit organization. None of us get paid. We take pride in what we do. Over the last 25 years, this little lodge behind us over here, I don't have the exact numbers, but it's millions of dollars that we've given back in Winchester and Clark County. And that's out of our membership and what we do through our grant programs and stuff like that. Our grant programs help the school system. And that's through our members putting in money for our EMF and stuff like that. So, I'm gonna be real quiet because we have a meeting to attend, because I got a meeting to go to. But if you wanna be a member in one of the greatest organizations in Winchester, nonprofit, come see us. Thank you. Hate to run out, absolutely hate to run out, but we have a membership meeting. Thank you all.
At this time, if Griffin Moore could come to the front, please. So Griffin earned the highest ribbon and won the school, county, and area 4-H speech competitions, and is now moving on to the communication contest in July for the 10-year-old category. It is the highest level for his age group, as they don't go to nationals until they are older. Griffin's speech was titled Marvelous Life Lessons, and is about what lessons we can learn from the Marvel franchise. Examples include that size doesn't equal potential and the importance of self-control. So please help me in recognizing Griffin Moore for his great accomplishments.
So we made a superhero pose, what we got?
His shirt is matching, it's perfect. Great job. If Piper Wills could please come to the front, please. So through the Senate Page program, students in top academic standing are invited to apply for a position as the page for the Senate for the calendar year. The Senate Page program is the daily program alternative to an existing full-time page program. The daily page program is for students between 12 and 18 who are too young or can't commit to being a full-time page. Pages generally have a Senate sponsor, typically the Senate elected to their home district. They perform a valuable service for all senators and staff by delivering messages, running errands, copying material, delivering bills, just to name a few. This evening, we would like to recognize one of our very own, Piper Wills, a 7th grader at RDC who is the 2025 Senate Page participant. Congratulations.
We'll stand here together.
Alrighty, here we go.
Thank you.
We could have our GRC girls tennis team come in, those who are present with us tonight. Welcome, come on in to the front, please. Front and center.
High five. Go first. I know you guys didn't need, here we go.
All right. This is the 24-25 10th Regions champions for our girls team and the state qualifier. So if we can give them a big round of applause. Tonight present, we have Madeline Settles,
Nettles.
Cassie Lowe,
Oh, we got everybody.
Sydney Ely, Caroline Brookshire, I don't think she came in, okay. Let's see, Allison Toddy. I have that one out just yet. Right there in front. Right there. Sorry. Right there on top. Carly Gray. And Carson Bowling. Okay, we get them all. Just want to make sure we just.
Coaches?
Absolutely.
Just before we let go, we have two young ladies standing here on the far right that are four-time doubles champions.
Moms and dads, if you guys want to come in, this is the time. We got pictures taken.
Look at that have you.
As long as you're looking at me first.
Yes, you're first.
Ready? Here we go. Awesome.
All right, now for moms and dads, here we go. Picture that, we good? Okay. Are you sure, Miss Ely, are you sure? Okay. Thanks, guys. Congratulations.
All right, and any of our boys team that may be out in the hallway, would ask that they come in. There we go. Yes, okay. All right, tonight our boys tennis team was the 2025 region champions and the state championship qualifiers. Also, that qualified some individual tournaments. The doubles champions was Hayden Cockrell and Gratz McCraft. Singles runner-up was Gabe Palmer. Singles semifinalist was Jackson Kincaid. And the doubles quarterfinalist was Paxton Harper and Daniel Cubican. So tonight present, we have Gratz McCraft and Gabe McCrae, and Gabe Palmer. So a round of applause for the kids.
Cards, there we go. All right.
All right, here we go. Oh, coaches, thank you.
Still got it.
Come on in here, brother.
All righty, here we go. Thank you.
Here's your chance.
Recently, our boys and girls track team competed in the regional 6 championships. During that event, we had 4 regional champions. T. East won the long jump, the triple jump, and the 400 meters, and Bailey Howard won the pole vault. After region, we had several student athletes that also qualified for the state championships. So we want to recognize a few of them, so if we can get our track kids to come on up. The ones that are here. My man, Mr. Hayden Arnold, qualified for the state track meet in the Unified 2x50 relay, the Unified 2x200 relay, the Unified long jump, and the Unified 4x100 meter relay. And Hayden got, which event did you get the medal in? You remember?
Silver.
You got the silver in the 4x100 meter relay, correct?
Yeah.
So let's congratulate Hayden. Jackson Rogers qualified for state in both the 400 and the 4x400 meter relay. And man, has he really come on this year. Ran some big PRs in both those events, so congratulations to Jackson. during the state competition, we had 3 girls that qualified. We had 2 girls that scored. Those 2 girls finished 5th overall in the state, behind 4 teams that probably had at least 15 girls competing. But during that time, Bailey Howard, who has dominated the pole vault all year, was able to pull out the win for her 2nd state championship this year. She won the indoor pole vault competition at state, and then she won the outdoor also. So congratulations to Bailey. Our other state champion is playing basketball, so she's mad at Coach Graham because she couldn't be here tonight. I said, you don't want to get on her on his bad side. T. Yeast, which happens to be my daughter, she was first in the long jump and the triple jump, and she was state runner-up in the 400 meters. So between her and Bailey both, they scored 41 points at the state meet. So super proud of those girls.
To clear up any confusion, yes, Bailey is my daughter. And I look like I can jump on a pole.
Rumor has it she got it from her mom.
Perfect.
Congratulations. You get hugs?
All right, tonight we've also got the distinct honor of recognizing an individual whose career is a testament to unwavering dedication, selfless service, and a profound impact on our community. Our honoree graduated from GRC High School in 1980, and that very September answered the call to serve our nation by joining the U.S. Army. After 2 years of service, he brought his commitment to duty to the Winchester Police Department, starting out as a dispatcher in 1982. Just 2 years later, in 1984, he became a sworn officer, embarking on a path that would see him excel in various roles from street patrol to becoming a vital DARE instructor. His leadership qualities were recognized with a promotion to sergeant. Beyond his official duties, our honoree has been a cornerstone of the community through their incredible 32-year involvement with the FOP Lodge 34 as the vice president, and he also leads the impactful Shop with a Cop program, bringing joy and support to countless children. After retiring from the Winchester Police Department in 2001, his commitment to public safety continued, transitioning to the Clark County School System as a special law enforcement officer in December of that year. His vision and leadership quickly became apparent, leading to a promotion to director just 4 years later. Starting as the 4th officer in a small team, they spearheaded the growth of the school's law enforcement presence, building it to an impressive 11 officers. But his greatest achievement, and perhaps the culmination of his distinguished career, came on January 10, 2023. Under Superintendent Dustin Howard's leadership, the Clark County School System was granted its own police department, and our honoree was rightfully named the chief of the Clark County Schools Police Department, a position he continues to hold with distinction and is retiring from serving the country to safeguarding our schools from the streets of Winchester to the hallways of Clark County Schools. Our honoree's career is a masterclass in commitment. Please join me in celebrating Chief Keith Mulligan for his extraordinary contributions and unwavering dedication as our Distinguished Service and Community Impact Award recipient. Some are taller than me.
Ready?
All right. Osmo, you want to say any words? You want to give us a speech? No.
Do we have any public comment? No. Internal board business.
We didn't have any public comments.
No, that's what she said. Acknowledgement of legislative update, and it's Senator Greg Elkins.
So thank you for that. Thank you for having me tonight, and if you'll allow me to deviate just a little bit, I'd like to take a moment to recognize someone here tonight. Dustin, if you'd come up here, please. So I'd like to recognize Dustin in an accomplishment that he has received, and it comes with a Senate citation that's been prepared for him. And it reads, "To all whom these present shall come greetings. Know ye that Dustin Howard is recognized and honored for his extraordinary service as the respected superintendent of Clark County Public School District, which have recently resulted in him being named by Eastern Kentucky University as the worthy recipient of the prestigious, experienced Superintendent of the Year Award. Following a competitive process, the award is bestowed upon a superintendent who has displayed outstanding talent in instructional leadership, as well as exemplary communication, professionalism, and community involvement. Inasmuch as this distinguished educator and administrator has worked tirelessly over the course of his career to provide the best possible education and educational opportunities to the youth of his community, while also providing unwavering support to the teachers and administrators of his district, Dustin Howard has offered sincere congratulations upon having earned this well-deserved professional honor. He has offered sincere congratulations upon having earned this well-deserved professional honor. His extended best wishes for the utmost success and good fortune as he continues to help enrich the lives of Kentucky youth throughout education. And on the motion of Senator Greg Elkins, is hereby deemed this honorable body's most worthy of its recognition. And that is signed by President Robert Stivers and myself. Dustin, congratulations.
Can you guys come up here with me real quick? Just get a picture.
This and that.
Get wide on this. Where are you going?
All right, here we go. Great.
Thank you. Dustin, thank you. Yeah, I know it. I didn't know it was coming. I don't think anybody knew it was coming. Including myself. So I appreciate the opportunity to provide a legislative update on the 2025 session. As you know, it's a short session, and typically that means we don't take up a lot of big issues. And I didn't really realize that we did until I started going through all the bills that we had passed and singling out which ones pertain to education. There were a lot of other bills that we dealt with. We dealt with bills that were dealt with reining in some of the various agencies across the Commonwealth. We expanded on plans to develop nuclear energy in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We're trending towards nuclear energy production. In the next 20 years, we're doing a study with the University of Kentucky Applied Sciences Division to develop that program.
We've passed legislation on drone surveillance, cannabis-infused drinks. I didn't even know there was such a thing as what we call weed water, but I learned about weed water this past session. But what I wanted to dive into or to drill down into just a little bit are some of the bills that we passed this year that have to do with education. So I will begin with Senate bills, and I'll start with the Senate bills because that's what I'm most familiar with. A lot of House bills, I don't study them. I kind of learn what they're going to do, supposed to do, and then take a vote on the Senate bills. I usually know them inside and out, what they do or are intended to do. Senate Bill 3 was the Senator Mike Wise's bill. It updates Kentucky's name, image, and likeness laws to align with the expanded House versus NCAA settlement, ensuring the state universities remain competitive with schools nationwide. The bill allows student athletes to enter into agreements with the universities or affiliated organizations for direct compensation. Senate Bill 4 was Amanda Bledsoe's bill. It established comprehensive policies for responsible use of artificial intelligence in Kentucky's government. It defined key AI terms, created AI governance committee and task force, or tasked the Commonwealth Office of Technology with setting ethical and transparent policies. The bill emphasizes public disclosure, employee training, and data privacy protections. It also addresses AI's role in elections by regulating synthetic media and prohibiting deceptive AI-generated content and political messaging. That is becoming more and more of a problem. AI is a very good thing, but it also can be a very bad thing if we're not careful with it. We're also keeping a pretty close eye on federal legislation or regulations that deal with artificial intelligence going forward. Senate Bill 9 strengthens the financial stability of the Kentucky teachers' retirement system by standardizing school district leave policies, addressing pension disparities, and enhancing transparency. The bill requires all school districts to offer paid maternity leave by year 2030 and caps pensionable leave at 13 days per year, 10 sick days and 3 personal days, preserving previously accrued benefits. TRS must now report sick leave liabilities in actuarial valuations, and the state auditor will conduct a special audit. Additional provisions include housekeeping measures requested by the TRS and adding employees of We Lead CS, which supports computer science instruction, to the TRS membership. The legislation follows a Public Pension Oversight Board review revealing over $800 million in unaccountable liabilities, prompting reform to protect long-term sustainability while honoring pension promises. Senate Bill 19 requires a daily 1 or 2 minute moment of silence in Kentucky public schools, giving students time to reflect, pray, or mediate quietly without staff influence. Students must remain seated and silent, and parents will be notified and encouraged to guide how the child uses this time. And this is, so as we contemplate these bills and look at them, Dustin will tell you he is one of my go-to guys that I'll tag a lot of time from the Senate floor and say, Dustin, pull this bill up real quick and read it and tell me what you think about it. This was one of those bills that he and I talked about. I had some issues with the bill and the way it was crafted, and Dustin did some research on it and found that most of that bill was already legislation anyway. The 1 to 2 minutes was not, but the other half of it that was. So it allowed me the ability to vote on it. The governor actually vetoed that bill, objecting to the seating requirement and the use of the term moral instruction, but the General Assembly maintained the law is neutral, practical, and respectful of students' rights while trusting teachers to manage the brief observance. Senate Bill 68 reforms Kentucky public school standards and administrative requirements by emphasizing critical and independent thinking, high academic achievement, and expanding career and technical education within the curriculum. It clarifies that school boards serve as tax levying authorities, requiring district budgets to be published like school finance reports. Senate Bill 73 creates a new criminal law against sexual extortion, enhances victim protections, and increases public awareness through education and resource access. According to the FBI, sexual extortion of our children is the fastest growing crime as it pertains to children in the United States today. Senate Bill 73 will establish clear legal consequences for perpetrators civil remedies for victims, and preventative measures for schools and communities. It is a very important piece of legislation that clarifies that sexual extortion is a felony, with enhanced penalties for threats, prior offenses, authority figures, weapons use, or harm to minors. It also distinguishes between a felony offense involving explicit images and misdemeanor threats without images to prevent unintended consequences. Senate Bill 77 updates the membership qualifications of the Education Professional Standards Board, which sets standards for teacher certification in Kentucky. The bill aims to ensure broader representation from independent, not-for-profit colleges and universities. Additionally, it empowers the Council on Post-Secondary Education to evaluate additional academic offerings and consider proposals for new doctoral programs submitted by comprehensive universities such as PhD programs, veterinary medicine, or osteopathic programs, provided that universities meet additional performance criteria. Doctoral programs that do not require state funding may be approved by the CPE. Senate Bill 87 strengthens Kentucky's aviation industry by streamlining procurement for major commercial airports, increasing safety measures, and expanding workforce development opportunities. Additionally, it directs the Council on Post-Secondary Education to study the creation of an FAA-recognized air traffic controller safety program at Kentucky University with a timeline for implementation. Meaning we will, in Kentucky, be one of, I think, only 2 states that train federal aviation air traffic controllers. And I think that's a place where we, in air traffic in Commonwealth Kentucky, is a place that I think you'll see a lot more legislation going forward as it pertains to air traffic and expanding our economic development opportunities there. Senate Bill 100 strengthens enforcement against underage vaping nicotine sales by requiring all tobacco and vape retailers to obtain a state license through the Kentucky Department of Alcohol Beverage and Control. The bill grants the ABC enforcement authority, including unannounced compliance inspections, and imposes escalating fines and license revocation for repeat violations. Additionally, it increases penalties for unauthorized sales and bans on the sale of distribution of nitrous oxide products to anyone under 21 years of age. So I had a group from GRC and Frederick Douglass come to my office and talked about underage vaping. We talked about it just a little bit, and I said, well, you know, they brought a story of 12 and 13-year-olds acquiring these vape products and using them. And I was talking to the students, and I said, but that doesn't really happen, does it? At least not in Clark County. And they said, oh yeah, there's a store where a 13-year-old can walk in and buy a vape product. And I said, there is a store or every store? They said, well, there's a store. There's a store in Clark County where you can go in and buy that. So I remember that from being 16, 17, trying to buy alcohol when I was a boy, and there was a store that we could go buy beer at 16 years old. So I believed them when they told me there's a store where they could buy vape products as an underage as well. So I think that was a good piece of legislation and one that hopefully does what we intended it to do. Senate Bill 120 enhances student-athlete protections by requiring coaches and school staff to complete training on recognizing and reporting abuse. The bill mandates that athletic consent forms include clear instructions on how students can report abuse, empowering them with important information. It also requires schools to post child labor laws to inform students and parents of their rights. Senate Bill 136 modernizes Kentucky's vehicle registration system to ensure fair insurance valuations for total vehicles and expands the access to real IDs. But the bill also expands Kentucky State Police drivers testing pilot program to 10 counties. And I personally hope the pilot program is wildly successful because I think it's too difficult now to take your driver's test. So I'm very much in support of the pilot program, and I hope we can expand that and get it back to, I don't know, used to you could do it in 120 counties, and I'd like to get back to that again someday. Senate Bill 169 strengthens law enforcement's ability to investigate child exploitation, harassment, and stalking in the digital age by modernizing administrative subpoena authority. The bill expands the Attorney General and the Kentucky State Police Commissioner's ability to issue administrative subpoenas for digital records in cases involving these crimes, allowing access to certain records from internet providers, social networks, mobile payment services, and cloud storage providers to help identify offenders. However, the bill does maintain due process protections by requiring a warrant for more sensitive data such as emails, passwords, and account content. Senate Bill 178 reorganizes the Education Labor Cabinet to enhance vocational rehabilitation, apprenticeship services, and workforce recruitment. That's another one of those bills that hopefully will continue to develop our workforce in the Commonwealth of Kentucky and make an easier transition from high school or vocational school into the workforce. Senate Bill 181 is a bill that establishes traceable communication system for school district employees and volunteers to use when communicating electronically with students. Each local board of education must designate one or more approved programs or applications as the exclusive electronic communication means, though parents may provide written consent for alternative methods. Senate Bill 207, known as the School Innovation Act, this legislation creates a waiver process through the Kentucky Board of Education to allow public schools to adopt innovative instructional strategies, particularly in struggling districts. Senate Joint Resolution 55 directs the governing board of post-secondary education institutions to adopt policies to combat anti-Semitism. Senate Concurrent Resolution 43 expressed the General Assembly's support for the Crisis Recovery Support Network, coordinating with the Southern Regional Education Board. The network provides long-term counseling support to schools, districts, and post-secondary institutions recovering from natural disasters, school shootings, and other crises, focusing on rural areas lacking those resources. By adopting Senate Concurrent Resolution 43, the General Assembly affirms its commitment to students and educators' well-being by recognizing the network as a trusted resource for crisis recovery. So as you can see, there are a lot of Senate bills that were taken up for education. So I'll get into some of the House bills. One of the House bills that we took up that we like to say is the most important piece of legislation. It doesn't necessarily have to do with education, was House Bill 1, which reduced further the Kentucky state income tax from 4% to 3.5% beginning January 1, 2026. That will leave an additional $718 million in Kentucky taxpayer pockets throughout each fiscal year going forward. House Bill 4 prohibits the Kentucky public universities from funding DEI programs, initiatives, and requires the closure of DEI offices and positions by June the 30th. It prevents institutions from influencing administration hiring scholarships and campus programs based on race, religion, sex, color, or national origin. House Bill 4 also prohibits public universities from requiring diversity statements on applications for employment, promotion, contracts, contract renewal, admission, housing, financial aid, or scholarships. House Bill 15 lowers the minimum age for driving, although this isn't educational, your students certainly care about it, to 15 years of age rather than 16. And it does say the permit holders must maintain it for 180 days and be 16 years of age before advancing to an intermediate license. House Bill 54 allows dual credit students in trade programs to count on-the-job training hours for internships and cooperative placements towards licensure requirements for professions regulated by the Department of Housing, Buildings, and Construction, including electricians, plumbers, and HVAC technicians. House Bill 132 addresses the gap in funding for schools, providing instructions to students in inpatient medical facilities, and assures schools can receive funding for students receiving home or hospital instruction in inpatient facilities starting on the first day of admission. It allows students to access instruction immediately while keeping existing documentation requirements in place. House Bill 190 requires local school boards to create accelerated learning plans with advanced coursework options for academically exceptional high school students. The measure mandates automatic enrollment of high-achieving students into advanced courses, barring removal without parental consent. House Bill 193 streamlines Kentucky's dual credit and work ready scholarship program by consolidating them into a single statute. The bill simplifies administration for schools, colleges, and state agencies while ensuring students have clear access to available opportunities. House Bill 208 requires local school boards to prohibit students' use of personal telecommunication devices during instruction time, with exception for teacher authorized use. It mandates that school internet networks block access to social media platforms. That's what we call the cell phone bill, in other words. House Bill 240 strengthens early literacy by requiring a universal reading screener for kindergarten students in the last 10 school days, beginning in the 2025-2026 school year. Students who do not meet reading benchmarks may be retained in kindergarten or remain in the first grade for an additional year. Students turning 7 by August 1 are exempt from kindergarten retention. House Bill 241 expands flexibility for Kentucky school districts by addressing virtual learning and lost instructional days. It allows the Education Commissioner to grant up to 5 additional NTI days for districts facing closure due to weather, illness, disasters. Districts can extend school days up to 7 hours to meet the 1,062-hour requirement in fewer than 170 days. So I had, of the 5 superintendents in my district, I had some superintendents who wanted more days. I had some superintendents who wanted more hours, and this bill gave each of them what they wanted, so they could pick and choose which they needed. I think it was a good compromise, and it was, Dustin, if I remember correctly, that's just 1 year, right? That was just last year.
That's right.
Yeah, thought so. House Bill 242 would grant research institutions access to state child welfare statistics to better monitor and maintain child welfare systems. It would also grant bona fide research to research institutions, child dependency, neglect, and abuse report, and data for research, quality improvement, or evaluation. House Bill 251 strengthens oversight for Kentucky teachers' preparation programs by transferring full administrative authority to the Council on Post-Secondary Education to the Education Professional Standards Board. House Bill 298 reforms the process for identifying and supporting schools needing comprehensive support and improvement, CSI. It requires annual CSI reviews, gives superintendents the flexibility in forming turnaround teams, and mandates evidence-based instruction and curriculum. House Bill 303 creates academic and career pathways to help military health care professionals transition into civilian health care roles. It allows colleges to offer bridge programs that credit military training, reducing the time to earn their credentials. House Bill 305 expands the healthcare training scholarship program to include licensed physicians, assistants, dietitians, and nutritionists. It also prohibits employment restrictions for scholarship recipients enrolled in state registration nurses aid programs. Those changes aim to broaden access to healthcare training. House Bill 342 requires high school students entering the 9th grade in 2026, 2027 school year or later to complete 1 credit hour in financial literacy as a graduation requirement. The course must include instruction on reviewing documents critically and providing a cursive signature. So there are numerous other pieces of legislation that dealt with education, but I kind of wanted to give you just an update on some of the most important ones, or what I felt were the most important ones, and then offer you the ability to ask questions, because I know a lot of this legislation directly impacts you and what you do. And we're not lost on that in Frankfurt as we take up legislation. That's why I often will reach out to 1, 2, or 3 of my superintendents and ask them their opinion on legislation as we're considering it. And I'll take what these gentlemen tell me. In my case, it's 3 gentlemen that I reach out to. And I'll take what they tell me and I'll vote yes or no on bills. Based on what they tell me, because they're boots on the ground. The superintendent see things I could never see. They know things I could never know, so I have to take their word for it, and I appreciate the advice that I get from them and the counsel that I get from them. I don't always, sometimes I get different opinions from superintendents, because you have larger school districts and smaller school districts, and some bills don't satisfy both, so I have to then make a decision on which one I think, I have to weigh it out and see which one I think does the most good. So it's not always cut and dry, it's not always easy, but I appreciate Dustin's support, and I appreciate you guys allowing me to come here and give these updates every year after session. It's important, it provides a degree of transparency. I want you to know what we do in Frankfurt, why we do it, and so that's the reason that I'm here tonight. I would like to answer questions if you have any. As they say? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to sit down.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very, very much. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Acknowledgement of Partners in Education, update and consider approval for 2025 Good Giving Challenge donation. Mr. Yates.
I want to first start off by saying I appreciate y'all letting me defer this. I slipped in here on May 29th. I was trying to go with bronchitis. I don't wish it on anybody. Secondly, I want to say that I'm here tonight requesting, one, give you an annual update. I like doing that every year. As he said, let you see my ugly face. But also I want to say that I'm requesting $10,000 like we have in the past. Back in January, I sent a letter to Mr. Howard with a lower amount, and I think you may have in front of you. But after some discussion with my board and with Mr. Howard, I'm going to go back to my original request. And if you approve that amount, if I need to submit an updated letter to Mr. Howard, I'll be more than happy to do that. Let me get my iPhone down here. Before I give you this handout, I want to first recognize my board members. Get my iPhone down here. I have 14 people that are on my board, 3 of them here tonight. Starting with Ken Hogan, my outgoing chairman. He's been affiliated with my board for over 15 years, which I think is a great accomplishment. Paige Hicks, Erica, she's at the Fugate Law Firm. Erica Parse with Central Bank. Kent Kugel, you all know. Cole Sockers, who's here tonight. Cindy Banks with the Chamber. Cora Hefner, who, by the way, is the founder of Partners in Education in 2003, and she's finally coming off of my board after 22 years.
Legend.
No. And she'll still be on the speed dial, trust me. She's my proofreader when it comes to our newsletter. Sherry Hampton, who is with the community member. Dora Hall, right there, y'all know her. Pam Baker, who's with Catalent. Whitney Hacker with Stockyard Bank. Henry Branham, y'all know him, retired judge executive. Casey Harden with People's Exchange Bank, and Chrissy Bush, who y'all know, who works here at the central office. So, now, let me give them, you pass them around, is that okay? Can I do that? Yeah. I try to give y'all an update, like I said, every year on what we've done in the past year. So, when it gets around there, wait a second, let y'all get one to look at. To give you a little context about this, in 2018, we peaked with 175 volunteers. And then obviously COVID hit, shut us down. And FY 23, I guess it was, we started back, we had like 35 mentors. The next year we had 55, the next year 110, which was last year. And now this year we've grown even more. I'll get to that in a second. I want to first mention partners. We added back First Presbyterian Church. First Presbyterian Church was a partner for a long time. All their volunteers were like 80 and above. And when obviously COVID shut that down, but they reached out to me last summer and said, we'd like to get back in the game. And I was really glad to have them. It's the same group of ladies and about 6 or 7 of them. So we added them. Our BAM volunteers increased primarily due to the fact that up till now, we'd had it at preschool, Baker, and RDC. Well, this year I expanded it to GRC. It was not as many times, but that was our first year, but it went fine. Mr. Howard last week introduced me to the new GRC principal, and he assured me that he wants to keep doing it. I was thinking maybe I should back off for a year, but he said, no, we're gonna keep doing it. So hopefully I'll meet with him and his staff before school starts and get that program rolling again, and hopefully get even more. Same thing with GLOW volunteers, they increased, and that was again primarily due to the fact that we moved it or expanded it into GRC. As I mentioned, the number of volunteers, we had a 13% increase from 110 to 124. Our number of volunteers hours, this has blew my mind, and it went about 40% increase from 820 to 1147. All I could equate it to was people like Jessica Chamberlain that I picked to be the volunteer of the year. She did like 140 hours just by herself. So when you have some of that, that'll really make the numbers jump. Our volunteer value in dollars, which, by the way, obviously inflation keeps affecting this. I should have went back and looked at what it was when I started this, but I remember being like 7 or 8 years ago, like $22 an hour is what a volunteer is worth. Now it's up to $34.79. But, so that alone made and the fact that we had so many more hours means that our volunteers in dollars gave back $39,904 to your schools. Partner donations to schools was down a little bit this year, but still $8,600. An example of that would be like Catalent bought $2,000 some odd of Christmas presents for kids at RDC. Second did the same for kids at students at Justice. Those are just two examples that come to mind. If you want more, I can give you more examples. So then our total value, which is basically what I call your return on your investment, for last year giving us $10,000, you got back $48,544. So you got $4.8 for one. That's the way I look at it. Pretty good return on your investment. Corporate sponsors, we added 2 this year, Stockyard Bank and DSM. And Coach, tell me what DSM does.
They're a flavor and fragrance company.
Right. I didn't know until we were staying at our meeting. Somebody had to look it up, but we're glad to have them as a new sponsor. And then Cora just sent me something on Facebook where they're expanding. They bought some other company, I think it was, or something like that.
You're talking about Banner.
Oh, that was Denver. I'm sorry. I thought they were DSM.
We talked about that yesterday.
Oh, sorry. Okay, my bad. Shows you what I'm paying attention to. Good Giving Challenge, we went down a little bit. This year, though, it's going to be a little bit different, so we're waiting to see what all that means. But I think the number of amounts they will match is going to go back up for those that hopefully get to participate. And then Bucks for Books, about the same, but we had 620 students. Just so you know what I do, we take 2 years ago, we had a grant from Steel Reef. This past year, we self-funded. We took $5,000 out of our own budget, and we go to the FRCs at the 4 elementary schools in Baker. So the 4 elementary schools get $850. Baker gets $1,600 because their books cost a little bit more. And those FRCs create some kind of a voucher system. So when the Tanya student gets this voucher, she doesn't know that she's poor, if you will, but she then gets that, she can get a free book during the Scholastic Book Fair. So that's when I show 620, that's 620 students that got a free book during the Scholastic Book Fair. That's what that's for. So that is really quick and dirty. I knew it wasn't going to be as long as Mr. Elkins, but that's quick, down and dirty. If you have any questions, please fire away. Otherwise, that's my presentation.
Questions for Mr. Yates? If not, anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Give him the 10,000.
All right, motion by Ms. Thomas,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Hall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for all you do. Appreciate it.
We're gonna miss Mr. Hogan and Cora for sure, so they'll be around.
Phone call away.
Phone call away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consider approval of first reading of KSBA updates to policy and procedures. Mr. Allen.
So this will take 2 reads. Essentially what we do is Kentucky School Board Association. This is basically what we paid for. They take the legislation that was just passed with the session. They figure out what policies, procedures need to be changed, updated based on the new legislation, and they give us templates that still need to go and be presented to each local Board of Education. So this takes 2 reads. I know I sent lots of things out to you guys. We'll bring this back probably later on this month, because one of the legislative changes, which was Senate Bill 181, one of the policies actually goes into effect on June the 27th. So just kind of opened up for general questions you guys might have after reading over things. I know I've been in lots of discussions with our board attorney, making sure we're covered. Just a couple things, a lot of things are just simple, easy changes, but there were a couple bills that, like 181, I want to make sure, and actually if you places down, we have to go a little bit further in approving which traceable communication systems we're going to approve as a board. So I've listed those in there, so that takes care of that. But one of the policies is about the waiver form. And one of the recommendations that I've talked to our board attorney about is making a slight tweak on the waiver to allow a parent, guardian, to use one form to approve a list of folks versus each form having to be tied to one adult. And I think will be good. So that's a small change. Instead of listing staff, it would be staff, or plural staffs, where parents can give permission for those individuals to communicate on a non-approved communication tool. And again, what we'll do, if you guys are good with that, we'll approve that on the first reading, and then we'll work with our team on what that looks like for the second reading. The other one that is the maternity leave bill. It mandates that by 2030, the district has to provide paid leave, but it gives us till 2030. We've already looked at our budget. I would recommend that we continue doing what we're doing now and taking that paragraph out, just so that we have time to track that. I know working with Alicia, I don't want to throw a dart in the midair and figure out where it lands. I want to really look at how much this is going to cost the district, and I think it's a good bill, but I think jumping into it too quickly may lead us to be at risk financially if we don't know what that's going to obligate us to financially. And again, I think they passed the bill with the foresight to understand it's coming out late. Districts are already working on their budget, so it's intentional that we can opt to do that. So that would be my recommendation on that, is just taking that paragraph out and letting us do kind of a wage study on what it would look like for those employees. Those are the two big ones. It actually worked out well that the Senator Elkins gave such a thorough overview, because it should answer any questions you have and why kind of some of the things are in there. So unless you have any other questions, or Becky, if I left anything out, those were...
Not that I'm aware of, so I think the recommended motion would be the procedures can be approved upon one reading. Policies need 2 readings. To approve the policies, to approve a first reading with the striking of the first paragraph on policy 03-1233. That's the one Mr. Howard was referring to. And like he said, the law, that's not effective and that's not mandated until 2030. And the way the policy is written now, it says up to 30, and I think there would need to be some more specificity so there's not a disparity between what one employee gets versus another. So I think that's something that could be revisited. We've got plenty of time to do that before it's mandated.
What was that number?
03.1233. Would just be that first paragraph that's added to that.
Did you write that down?
I have written that.
Yeah.
And the
See it up
procedure,
here scribbling, so.
and the procedures can be approved on a first reading with that addition Mr. Howard mentioned to the traceable communication authorization form.
So the only thing I know you sent it an email, but there's nothing on e-meetings, and so I don't know what I am approving. So I know there's multiple emails, but I would prefer to like have a list of what it is I'm approving, because there's nothing attached to this agenda item in e-meetings. Do you have them?
I have them printed if that helps.
We have them, I think, in email form, but we don't have them on this agenda.
Can we take just a few minutes recess or something? Because I really want to know when I'm voting. I don't feel comfortable voting, and when I don't, I'm not sure. Is that right to run a recess? Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, we'll call a 10-minute recess at 7:03, and back in 7:13. We're back in session at 7:14, and we are on number 3, consider approval of first reading of KSBA updates to policy and procedures.
There it is, all up on there, I found
Right now,
it. So what have we done?
Yeah, policies was with the striking of paragraph 1 on 03.1233. Procedures was
so we need to do them separate, I guess. Do them separate, Becky, policy and
I would
procedures.
because it's, the motion needs to read a first reading of the policies, so do the procedures
so we
separate.
need first reading in policies with the striking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So motion to approve first reading of policies with striking of paragraph 1 on 03.1233.
Motion by Mr. Dorsey,
Second.
second by Mr. Kaiser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You recusing from this?
I'm focused.
Oh, okay. No, you're fine. Motion carries 5-0. All right, and now the procedures.
Motion to approve the first reading of, well, I guess it's
Just to
just
approve 'em.
approval of procedures.
Motion by Mr. Dorsey,
Mr. Howard, did you want that language about, no, wait, I'm sorry, that's on its own line item, the traceable communications.
That's correct.
Sorry.
so everything's good?
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Dorsey. I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, consider approval for board members to attend the KSBA 2025 Summer Leadership Institute, July 11th and 12th in Lexington.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion by Ms. Thomas,
Well, second.
second by Mr. Kaiser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Acknowledgement and consider approval of CCPS designated traceable communication system policy 2324, KRS 160.145.
So this is the one I pulled out intentionally because it's the biggest change by far. So what we are tasked to do as a board, you or as a board, is to designate what communication systems you're approving. Now this list can come back to you, can be added, you can take it off, you can always adjust it depending on where we're at. We went ahead and took the liberty of approving pretty much anything that we could trace, that we could keep record of, because those are the two biggest components of the two, and it has to be a two-way communication system. So we're looking at Clark County Public School emails, IC, Infinite Campus Messenger, Google Meet, video conferencing, Parent Square and Talking Points are both two-way communication systems that the district's investigating on purchasing, so that teachers will have a resource to communicate with that we pay for and fund. We piloted Talking Points for about 4 or 5 months, but Parent Square is another platform that we're pretty interested in too. So I went ahead and just put everything on there because this legislation and thus a board policy should be in place before June the 27th. The other part of this is the waiver form that is attached, or should be at this point in the, it's the, where parents, guardians can request basically a waiver to certain district employees that can use a one-way system that's not approved. But each individual gets to approve who basically talks to their students. My only recommendation is, the way it's written now, you would have to fill a form out for every single adult that you wanted to give a waiver to. So, for instance, and in my situation as a father, if I wanted Ms. Fitton and Mr. Mounts, of course, because they're his favorite, and Mr. Watkins, I would have to have 3 separate forms. I'm saying that we just change the language to allow the same form to be used to approve multiple people.
I mean, even with that form signed, do we still open ourselves up for a chance of some kind of litigation?
Potentially, this is all new, but I mean, the law does provide for an opt-out form. There's no absolute guarantee against litigation if things are misused or mishandled. But at least in that point, the parent has consented that my student can have contact with these people.
Yes. Now, on the form, it does have a timeline where the parent can revoke or not fill it out at all. So it's completely on them. So if they don't like how it's going, they can revoke it, and then we have to monitor and track that.
So is it an online form?
So we're going to work with our attendance DPP's office to, what we would like to do is put it in our online registration documentation where parents at the beginning of the year, since we do everything online, they would have to see it and have to either fill it out or not. And then it would be easier for us to track. We've not, again, this is all moving pretty fast.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, like, say you did it online and they filled it out and then halfway through they took it off, how would we?
We could go in on the back door of Infinite Campus and remove it, revoke it.
How would we know it without them telling us? that
They would have to
revoked it?
know.
They have to notify us. That's part of the policy, is they have to notify us. Or on the actual form, they can list an end date. We would just document that. So if they wanted it just for the school year, it would end date at the end of the school year, and they have that option as a parent to fill that out, or leave it open-ended.
Oh, so if you sign one, it would just carry over year after year after year?
Technically, you could if you didn't end date it.
So do the elementary schools still have things like dojo and all that, or is that not outdated because it's?
So some of them do, but at this point, if it's not traceable and it doesn't keep records, and we won't be able to, that's correct.
So it's kind of like an announcement. It's not like I could talk to the teacher one-on-one on something like that.
Any accounts that are to parents, I think are still going to be good. We're kind of working through that. It would just be to kids. Yeah, so if it was just used to contact and communicate with parents, that wouldn't need to be approved.
So if I'm a parent and I want to know who's talking to my kid, or do we have to keep the school system have to keep track of who's, if it's a two-way?
So next step for us will be training our staff and training our coaches, because it's also applicable to coaches and it's applicable to volunteers. There's a couple groups that PTO is one that's on the list that are not bound.
Any sports team.
Board members, unless you're a volunteer, you still can communicate with students. So it's pretty detailed in the legislation, who can't. But any employee of Clark County Public School System will be mandated to use one of these tools to talk to any student. Correct.
Electronically.
Electronically,
Yeah,
correct, electronically.
Any teams, any.
That's correct. Any team, so the other apps that each individual,
They won't be able to.
they won't be able to use. They'll need to use either,
No, they're not.
So is there a paper trail to this? So if I'm mad and I want to, because I think my child's been talked to by someone through, is there a way, or is it still trying to figure it
I would
out?
say the digital, if it is digital, it would at least show like.
I think it has to be these type because they are traceable.
Two-way, yeah.
So they are.
And the statute provides that the district has to provide parents access to the communication records.
Right.
That's a logistical thing I think districts are
So-
working through. Is that gonna look like an open records request? Or,
I can imagine looking very similar to open records
Yeah.
requests that you would fill out, and I want to see communication with this, and this.
Yeah.
So another example would be high school teachers email their students
Correct.
things. So does the parent have to give permission for the teacher to talk with the student by email?
No, because it's
Because that's what
actually,
we're
Yes.
governing on. It's
if
one
we
of the
approve it,
traceable.
then they'll be able to do that, correct?
Because it's traceable, the
It's a
district has,
email account,
yeah.
Now, if a teacher would use a private account, then no, they could not. I mean, we'll have to do the training part on that on our end. That has to be a Clark County email account.
It has to be one of these,
Correct.
just one of these.
If not, then if it's a classified or certified, then we'll be required to have some sort of consequence or punishment.
What about Google Classroom email or Google Classroom communication? Is
I
that
would say that probably fall under the Google Meet too, so
Like-
probably trace.
like when they give an announcement, or you can send something separate? Can't you send an email? Like send a message to your teacher back and forth?
Is that Jim from the campus messenger?
No, that would be-
Google Classroom.
But is it traceable?
It's still traceable, it's connected to email.
Yeah, it's, so because it uses the email accounts to set it up, we would still be able to see. I mean, we can put it on there just to make sure that we can add that to it.
I'm just trying to like
No,
give every potential.
There's a reason why I pulled this one out, so we can talk
Yeah.
about it.
It just reminds me a lot of like personal health information. That's why I'm trying to make sure I understand it, because I'm getting it confused with personal health information. So what this is saying is, if I'm a parent and I sign, then these are the things that my child and the child's teacher can communicate through.
No.
No,
If you
this-
sign, that means you can do something, sorry, outside of that. These can be used by the district without consent.
Oh,
Yeah, these are because the
Okay.
district can trace it, and an administrator could go in and say, what did that teacher say to that student? It's traceable, the district has control, has access. The problem is if a teacher's using their cell phone to text, or using a private email, or Facebook Messenger, or Snapchat, the district has no control.
Or an app
Or
that they
access,
own, like
yes.
we can't get access to,
Oh,
so they could hide from.
And the letter was to give them permission to do text or something
Yes.
with certain teachers or whatever.
Correct.
Because I know some of the teachers are putting stuff on Facebook, and it's just like, we hadn't even talked about it yet. And I don't want teachers to feel afraid of it. Because I was misunderstanding it myself, so.
Yeah.
I think it's just good to talk about it. Hopefully people will be listening and know that that's what it means.
Yeah, so our plan moving forward with when you approve these, we would start planning our PR campaign to get it to the community, get it to information out. I just didn't want to put the cart before the horse, and I want to have this conversation. I already had a conversation with Mr. Watkins, Smith Fitton today, because we are going to have some time where we're going to have some gaps. So, for instance, coaches, until we get these things up and people trained on, they're basically going to be mandated by me to use parent communication on the current apps that they have, so that we don't get a situation, but the students just would not be included on that. And then during that transition time, then we will continue to train and upload and get people fully on board. So when we start school, these are the platforms that Clark County Public School staff will use to communicate with students electronically.
What about Apex? Is there any type of communication through that when they're working on through the Apex? Dr. Hill already left, so
There's not.
there's not?
There's not.
Okay.
There's a grading components, and that's it, but typically they would use their email to inform their teacher to reset a test or to grade a
Okay.
test, and that's the part that we would track.
You made a comment a minute ago about they might just have to sign at one time. What did you mean by that? Like one time per school or one time per
For
being in the
multiple
district?
staff members or.
So we would roll, if it happens like I envision and we make it a part of our online registration, each year we would roll that form back out with an option to relist a waiver to communicate other than these approved forms. But like any other form, as long as they don't revoke it, we could use that to continue from year to year to year.
It just follows the kid.
It just follows the kid. Now, clearly, Ms. McCoy and I, because this is so new, would make sure that that's the case, and if we needed to, then we put it back out.
And as we discussed, every district in the state is struggling to figure out how we're going to implement this. The co-ops are providing a lot of guidance. There could be changes before a second reading as well, as we kind of work through some of the bugs. And it's anticipated there will be some kinks.
And my guess was that is when we get to the legislative session, the legislature will have to pick this back up. I can't mandate them to do their job, but I know that that'll be what I tell our senator that spoke to us and our representative, because I've got to communicate with them all the time. The intention of the bill is good. I mean, it's just when you implement, when you go from 0 to 60 or 100, whatever number you want to throw out there, if the implementation of it, it's going to take more time.
Is there, once we get this in place, if you find an employee or whomever out of compliance with it, are we gonna have to create a new policy regarding repercussions or?
So there's nothing assigned, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing assigned for our classified staff. We would do an investigation through our HR department, and then it would be up to the superintendent, because I'm really the only one. Principals are notified, principals can't necessarily this one, but they would do what they would normally do, is get me involved, get HR involved, investigate, and then we would put together some sort of appropriate response. With certified teachers, there is a reporting component that we would need to report any kind of founded allegations to EPSB, and then they would review that on their end, is the way I'm reading it right now. So that's for our teachers, so there is one mandated piece, and then if I don't report it as the superintendent, then I could be held liable. And they're pretty clear on that when I reread 8 pages worth of the document. So this is the first reading.
Yeah, I was gonna say
This is the start. Even after our second reading, there's a likelihood we'll have to come back and revisit this. If I'm being very transparent and open. And we're gonna have to really work hard on our end to train our principals, to train our staff, to make sure that they know what the expectation is, and making sure that they utilize what we're providing so they're protected.
So have we written the policy the way we want it written yet for us to look at, at the second reading, or?
This is KSBA's
So
draft
we
of the
just have
policy.
to adopt
And-
what they put pretty much?
I mean,
We just like
there may
this.
be some tweaks on the second reading, but it pretty much follows the KRS, and the KRS is very detailed and specific
Yeah.
mandates, so.
We just need to list these in
Yes.
that policy.
Yeah,
So
you just have to, I think, put on the board minutes that you're designating these programs as the official traceable programs utilized by the Clark County Public Schools.
So they need to make a motion. Is this the first reading? Did it have to?
I think the motion should be to designate those,
approved CCPS designated traceable.
and it probably would be helpful to list those.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, and I put that on there, which ones we were looking at doing. But
She said it'd be helpful to list them if you wanna list them, if you're making a motion over here.
And Ms. Hall,
Did
did
I
you want to
hear you
add
make a
So,
one?
I will, yeah.
Google Classroom, did you want to add that?
It sounds like Google Suites, I was looking at Ms. Fitton.
It'll be all embedded in there. Google
Okay.
Classroom will be embedded.
Yeah.
in Google Suite.
So, okay.
So do we need to add that on to that list? Google Suites? When we have Google Meet, I wonder if it should be Google Suite.
If you think there's a communication element, it couldn't hurt.
yeah, I think anything
Yeah.
that can kind of protect us on it. They utilize heavily the email, so I think we're covered, but I think just to make it crystal clear, Dr. Hall, I think it'd be fine. So if you want to add that to it,
Yes.
But if you wanted to say Google,
plus I wanted to call you doctor again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
if you wanted to say Google, Google Core Services is what's coming.
Google course.
That sounds really
Ooh.
great.
So, motion to approve
Coming in strong. Booker.
CCPS designated traceable communication systems, Clark County Public School email accounts, Infinite Campus Messenger, Google Core Services, Parent Square, and Talking Points, and under policy 08.2324.
Motion by Mr. Dorsey,
I say,
second by Mr. Kaiser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, acknowledgement of CCPS policy and procedure 05.31, 05.3, 05.31 AP1, and 05.31 AP21.
So these are our policies for our facilities agreements. And
Community use.
yes, and then once we approve these three, then what we're required to do this year is to approve a facilities fee schedule. So that's actually the next item for consideration, but I wanted to make sure we kind of pulled those three out and then clarify that in working with Mr. Watkins and Ms. Ellis, and this would be great for principals to know, whatever funds they generate from these rentals will be in their district facilities account that they can then use to spend on their staff, their building, and their needs. So they will have access to those funds.
So does this need a vote, or is it just,
It's an acknowledgement.
I was just acknowledging, so you kind of know
Okay.
where they were coming from, and then explain why then we're moving into the next one about approving the school fee schedule.
Is this an amendment or just?
it's just an
Currently,
acknowledgement?
I'm just presenting it as is, just so we're kind of reviewing it and you guys are acknowledging as a board together. So there's one policy and then two procedures that dictate how we operate with who gets buildings and why, and how we prioritize. I think that's on there too. There's just been some questions about facilities usage, so I just want to make sure we're bringing it in the light.
Consider, so we're on number 7, consider approval of community use of school facilities fee schedule for 2025-2026 school year.
So you guys have that, should have that fee schedule. There was only one change to it. I took off one sentence about, it said some rentals shouldn't exceed 4 hours. And that's just kind of not practical with some. We have some that definitely exceed 4 hours, such as when we have plays and things like that, and rent to outside groups. So you guys have that schedule there. We also updated it with the new logo there at the top.
Any questions for Mr. Watkins? No, anybody like to make a motion?
I've got a question real quick.
Okay.
So like, say auditorium there, high school, it's 400. And then, so do we have like, is it required like the custodian's gonna have to come in and clean? So they have to automatically pay that 20 also?
We just kind of work with that group to determine what's needed. If they're not selling a lot of food, drinks and stuff, you know, you might not have a whole lot of cleanup at all. So it just kind of depends on the specific event.
Specific event, okay.
And their need and their request.
Right. If there's a lot of concessions or, you know, other things that would require a lot of cleanup, we would obviously add that on.
Okay. That's all I have.
Brandon, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about. It would be like for hourly.
Yeah, and some of these say per day. We obviously prorate that down to, because a lot of people that rent don't rent things all day. So we kind of prorate it down, obviously, to if it's an hour or 2 hours that folks rent things, then we charge them accordingly. So.
I'm good.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
All right, motion by Ms. Thomas,
Also.
second by Mr. Kaiser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider approval of change orders for the Clark County new preschool project. John Hagan is here.
Yep.
I didn't see you back there.
I'm
I
in
was
the
like,
back.
well, they put John Hagan on here, but.
So I got quite a few here, obviously. These kind of stacked up on us. I wrote a lot of these back in January, February, and March. But we kind of, we held off on processing pay applications. We held off on processing change orders, trying to get these contractors to get the work done. So that's how we kind of ended up with so many at one time. That's not the typical process. So Some of these, I can dive into each and every one. There's several that don't have any cost impact to the job at all. There's some where settling claims, some subcontracted work, where we're taking dollars from one contractor and giving it to another. I can do it however you like. I can go through each and every single one if there's something you want me to drill down into, whatever pleases you guys. I can run through the ones that do have a cost impact of the job, if you want to do that, or however y'all want to do it.
Yeah, I'd like to hear some on the ones cost impact, not the ones that are awards.
All of these were either requested by the school folks, added scope to the job, or some site conditions, nothing that was left out of the plans or left out of the bid package, that sort of thing. This is all added scope. The first one to Randall Davies, change order 2-3 for $6,725. That's made up of 2 separate items. The original plan called for, I think, 6 or 8 wheel stops, and this was to add an additional 24 into some of the parking spaces. That's the parking bumpers. And then to a change in the pavement elevation back near the dumpster enclosure. There's a manhole back there, which you may recall, that's been kind of a problem. The invert elevation of that manhole couldn't be changed, so we had to change the elevations of the blacktop and the sidewalk to accommodate that. So that's a total of $67.25 to Randall Davies. Change order 3-4 to Rising Sun, same scenario, revisions to that sidewalk out back by the dumpster enclosure. And then to add some changing of the hinges on those storm shutter doors that cover the windows in the storm shelter. We talked about it in a previous board meeting. This allows those to swing about 90 degrees open. So that's 3-4 with Rising Sun for $3,434. Let's see. 6-1 to Bennett's Contracting. This is a combination of a few things, primarily adding some ceilings in 2 of the main corridors. Originally, they didn't call for ceilings in there. It was all exposed structure where you can see the ductwork, see the conduit things. This was to add ceiling tile in those corridors. That also affects a couple of these subsequent change orders. I'll get to those in just a second. 6-2 to Bennett's Contracting. This was rooms 107, 108, 131, and 132.
Is it Bennett's Contracting or Bennett's Carpet?
They're now Bennett's Contracting, but I think at the time these contracts were written, it's Bennett's Carpets.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, they do a little bit more than flooring now.
Okay.
So these rooms were originally resource rooms and storage rooms. They become classrooms and offices, which required some additional data drops, power in the walls. So this is for the drywall work to accommodate that. 13-1-1 to U.S. Specialties. This was to make a change from steel, from metal sinks to a solid surface material in the restrooms, in the preschool restrooms, so it matched the countertops in those rooms. $2,300. $3,500 to Viking Automatic Sprinkler. That's Landmark Sprinkler. 15-1. This was in those same corridors where we now added those ceilings that required a change to the sprinkler system where you have the drops in the ceiling tile. 16-3 to Central Kentucky Sheet Metal, $2,129. In some of the main restrooms, originally all of the toilets were those little 10-inch toilets for the preschoolers. Now, the thought process was, well, if you have an event in a preschool, you need some adult-sized toilets available to the public. So this is a change to put some, now you have both size toilets in those restrooms. 17-3 to Fade Electric. This is one of the larger ones, $25,738.74. This was to run power from the building out to the monument sign down at Martin Luther King, at the entrance to that monument sign. That was something that was backed out of the original scope when we did the value engineering process. Now we're putting it back in. Let's see. 17-4 to Fade Electric. This is to provide some alternate light fixtures in those same corridor ceilings that originally did not call for ceilings, and a power receptacle for a condensate pump in room 122. That's $9,897.79. 17.5 to Fade Electric, $12,946.93. So on this one, the architects can't single source spec equipment for specific vendors on the job. You have to have open specs and multiple people can bid. So you don't know the exact equipment type you're going to have on occasion. For instance, this is for kitchen equipment. So until we bid the job, knew who the vendor was, knew exactly what equipment that was going to be provided, we didn't know all the electrical requirements. So this is a $12,946 change to upgrade the wire size, and specifically for the freezer and cooler. I believe that's all the ones that actually had a cost impact.
Mr. Cannell, could you explain 1741, the Sonatrol, just so, I think I understand. It's saying that that it got paid.
Oh, yes, yes. I'm glad you just pointed that one out. Yeah, that is a credit, $212,990. Those invoices, I say it's a credit, those invoices have already been paid, just not applied to their purchase order. So to satisfy KDE to show, yes, that was paid, but it didn't come out of your contingency fund, this is a change order to zero out that contingency, to zero out that purchase order. So you're not paying that twice, you're just paying it the one time.
Thank you.
I will have some additional actual credits for the POs next month. There's a few that have some remaining balances. That money comes back to you guys, so we'll have some of those next month.
Thank you for that.
It's not 212,000, but every little bit helps.
Okay.
How much more do they have on punch list or any of that work?
Very little. The interior work is all but finished. I'd say 99% complete on the punch list on the interior. Outside, there's still a few things. Specifically, that retention pond that continues to wash out. We're going to address that. I need to get back out there and see. They've been working in between rains. You get equipment out there in that grass, you do more harm than good sometimes. So I fully intend to come next month. Last couple change orders, pay applications to close out these contracts, punch list be done. So I'll wrap this thing up.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Codell? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the change orders for Clark County and the preschool budget.
Motion by Mr. Kaiser,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Dorsey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Codell.
Consider approval of Reverend Henry E. Baker Senior Court for Baker Intermediate Gym floor renovation. Mr. Watkins.
Come on up, legend.
Is this where we were talking about standing up and clapping when he comes up here?
I think so. He's gonna sing, he's gonna do this in hymn, right? Make the fight. Just to add to that, just so, no, there wasn't a pay app on this month's board agenda for Codell and the preschool. So we fully expect a few things next month to kind of finalize everything with a few more payments and a few credits and then wrap it up. So when you notice there's not a pay app, it's, it is coming toward the end. So Mr. Mounts here wants to briefly, as part of our summer project list, we're refinishing the gym floor at Baker because it drastically needs it. If you haven't seen it, I promise you, it's been overdue and it needs it. He's worked with the flooring company to come up with a beautiful design here, and they would like to add Reverend Baker's signature to the court. Obviously, doing that would kind of be naming the court, which falls to a board function. So we just wanted to seek your approval. Anything else you want to add there?
You had any questions?
So is it at the bottom there? Is that what the signature is?
Yes, yes,
Oh, okay.
right there.
That's his actual signature from his son's marriage certificate.
Oh, that's cool. I think it's a wonderful idea myself.
We are renaming the schools. Should be.
I love the design here that
I do
Mr.
too.
Mounts came up with and worked with them. It's got some shading inside the 3-point line, got the bulldog, got volleyball lines. It's already got the inserts for the volleyball poles, And then scroll down, Justin, just a second there. I'll bring it down that way. They've got 4 squares, some stuff, bowling pins and stuff for gym classes to use there at the top.
And it's a standard size basketball?
Says basketball.
Awesome. And you had room to add the 4 square?
That's actually on this side of the floor,
Oh.
underneath the bleachers, so we never tried the bleachers.
Gotcha.
And they actually added, today, they added some, I think it was $60. That's right. They added some agility ladders, you know, if you want to do
Oh,
footwork and things like
okay. That 4 square competitions can get really
Yeah.
intense.
It's big time now.
Do you need to make a motion to,
Yeah, does anybody got any more questions?
okay, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr.
Motion by Ms. Thomas,
I'll second it.
second by Ms. Hall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That is the quietest Josh Mounds has ever been.
that. Y'all.
I'm impressed.
Thank you for coming, Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Mouse.
All right, consider approval of natural gas supply agreement with Stand Energy Corporation. Mr. Watkins again.
So you all have an agreement there to review. I'm asking for approval of that. We currently have, get our natural gas through a third party. It's originally from Columbia Gas, but a third party supplier handles it, called Constellation is the name of it. In looking around and reviewing contracts as we do quite often to see if there's a better deal out there somewhere to save some money. Been working with Stand Energy Corporation. They work with several school districts. They have a master agreement with the state of Kentucky to provide, to be the third-party handler for natural gas supply. And it would be definitely some cost savings for us to do that. So asking you to take a look at that and consider approval of that agreement. We would still get it from, like I said, Columbia Gas. It just changes the middleman, so to speak.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Kaiser,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Hall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider approval of the 2025-2026 CCPS Transportation Procedure Manual. Mr. Snell.
The only change we had, we just did this back in November, I think, so there wasn't a lot to change. The only thing I wanted to change was the wording on page 15. The old handbook says no portable or cellular phones are permitted while driving. I want to change that to per FMCSA regulation, cell phone use is prohibited while driving. The reason the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration defines what use actually is. I think it's a bit more specific and it protects us a little bit more.
Any questions for Mr. Snell?
I do have a couple questions. So, I was reading the policy and I see that we only do the MVR once a year, and I guess the driver was responsible for doing that.
According to the policy, we do a background check on them upon employment. All bus drivers have to do a clearinghouse check.
Yeah, they do a clearinghouse, that's for their drug.
That only pulls drug and alcohol
Yeah.
violations. After that, it's their responsibility. They're supposed to inform us of basically any traffic citation other than a parking ticket.
I don't know how to say it. I would like to look at what it would cost us as a district to run, what the actual cost is of the actual motor vehicle report for a person. And if it was feasible and we looked at the price, I would love to see that run quarterly rather than yearly.
I think it's $25 each time.
Is it 25?
We do it, yeah, my county does it every year for everybody.
We do it monthly at my company now, just because of so many of the DOT laws changing all the time. And just to protect us as a company from having, and this could be the worst case scenario that ever happened, but we had a driver one time, I'll just share this, that started with us. They had been charged with something but had not been convicted. We hired them, they drove a truck for us for a solid year without a license because they lost their license 15 days into their job. And there was no way to know that because...
You were relying on them to self-report
Yes,
and then lose their job.
yes.
Gotcha.
So I mean, like I say, I don't think that, I think it depends on how many you're running. You can get some reduced rates. There is some companies out here that run those MBRs. Just look at it. And then the training, I think I asked Mr. Howard, he said that you all do annual training
Yes.
with everybody.
Yeah, the drivers are required to have an annual 8-hour update, which is geared toward the Kentucky School Bus Driver Training Manual chapters. There's over 12 chapters in there. Everything we do during that training has to be geared towards one of those chapters. It's not mandated for monitors, but we pretty much mandate it for monitors.
How much of the training is actual, like the driving part of it and not the dealing with children?
It can vary from year to year. Last year, we did about half a day on driving.
Okay.
Would
Last year, maybe
would it be
more, but we
beneficial to
did.
push some type of defensive driving?
I mean, I'm not gonna say how they have to train by no means. I just would like to see it reflected in our policy that we're doing the mandated training that's yearly. It really don't spell that out in the policy, and I'd just like to make sure we were protected on the policy side of it to say.
Yeah, so the only thing we have in there, it's on
It talks about,
page 31.
yeah,
The very bottom of the page is the only thing that we have there.
because that seemed to me like it was talking more about new hire driver on 31. It really doesn't say continued training or
Well, the very last section prior to, and this goes with what KDE
prior
requires.
to the beginning of each school year,
Yeah.
certified drivers shall complete. Okay, I did not see that, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And that's KDE regulations, that has to be done. If they don't do the 8-hour update training, they can't drive.
So do we provide that for them, or do they have to go out and do that?
We provide that.
Okay.
They have to come, our training is geared towards our district, our drivers. They can't go to Fayette County and do an 8-hour update at Fayette County and drive for us.
Okay,
They have to do ours.
okay. Good deal. Well, I'm fine with that part. I'd just like to look into the MBR part.
Yep, we can look into that, and then, once we figure out how much that's cost or what that would look like, we could even bring the policy back to update that if that was the will of the board, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so there's a district policy that references that we would have to change the district policy now.
But we would go ahead and do the.
Is that pretty customary that all school, because I've never heard of the actual person paying to have an MBR run to hold their job? I just,
Now, the way I don't know what other districts do. The
I
way
don't
our
know if it was
policy is
some-
written, yeah, it puts anyone that wants to drive a district vehicle, they are supposed to provide us with
okay.
their motor vehicle record every year.
See, ours is a little different just because, well, where we utilize like a fleet company, they require it. And so they complete that, like we don't actually pay for it, like the fleet company does.
Yeah, because
So-
you might be leasing your trucks or
Right,
whatever,
yeah.
so your company is.
So it's a little.
To where ours, we own all of our CDL trucks, but
Right.
we lease our trucks, so, but we, through our DOT numbers and all of that stuff that you have to have, we pay for that. We pay for physicals, we pay for everything, so. But that is also, we're an organization making money and can recoup that cost. I'm not saying that we need to.
Sure, and that cost.
Cause cost here, you know.
Would be forced on, yeah,
Yeah,
our revenue sources.
but I would like to see what it looks like from a standpoint of,
Sure.
I just wanna make sure we're protected. But you can't potentially have somebody tell you something and,
I think it's a good idea.
And I think timing wise, like I said, we can bring this back, depending on our answers to the board in July. And then if you guys want to modify that policy, that would be the first read, then we bring it back again in August, and we can make whatever changes the board wanted to make. Does that seem like a good
Yes,
direction? Is that right? Okay, all right.
So go ahead with this tonight and then modify it? Okay.
Yeah, because we're talking, this is more of the manual, of
Yes,
the
this is-
transportation manual. And the second part of Mr. Kaiser's question, we actually have in there, so we're good to go. But I think for long-term systemic change, we'll have to look at the policy.
Okay.
Motion to approve the 25-26 CCPS Transportation Procedures Manual.
Motion by Mr. Dorsey,
Second.
second by Mr. Kaiser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Acknowledgement and consider approval of the 2025-2026 CCPS school handbooks. You guys will say you changed your look.
For the worst one. Just the yearly updates of each school's handbooks. GRC isn't included in this approval just yet, just the transition. And I know that they've got some policies that they want to look at, revisit for the upcoming school year. So instead of coming back with that, we're just going to let them get everything situated and bring them back to you.
Originally it was uploaded to this document, so you saw it. You've not gone crazy. What we realized, I saw your response, so I don't have to address it. But I actually had them pull it off because it's not ready.
Okay.
There was a lot of still highlighted. Their site base, I think, is going to look at it again at their next meeting. So I want them to do their work first before it gets to us. Like I said, we've got administrative change there, and they're really doing their due diligence to make sure they know every detail in the handbook, and want to get it right before they bring it to you guys.
Good.
Any questions? Mr. King, would anybody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the handbook.
Motion by Ms. Hall,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Thomas. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
So what we'll do is we'll bring just the GRC one back. It's just one read. And if we have a special call meeting, which we'll talk about later, for the second read of the policies, we can just add it to that if they're ready. If not, then we'll push it to July. I wouldn't want to push it longer than that because we need to get that information out to our parents, so.
Consider approval of 2025-2026 athletic handbook. Mr. East.
Good evening, everyone. So there's been just a few changes in here. One of the important things is just the accountability piece for our coaches and our parents and our student athletes. So if you've had a chance to look, you'll see at the bottom of each page, starting with the parent guardian page, is just setting that expectation of how we are to act appropriately at events, practices, just understanding how to follow the chain of command. And so I've done that for the parent page, for the student athlete page, and also for the social media policy page. And then just as you can see at the back, there's the signature page that just makes sure that parents understand that if you want your child to participate, then we need to make sure that that page has been signed and sent back so that I'll have that piece. Because as you well know, somebody will say something and we can at least have an opportunity to hold them accountable for that. You guys have any questions?
So just specifically in here, just for the public to know, there is specifically a student code of conduct, but there's also drug testing consent forms because our student athletes can be random drug tested, and there's a specific social media policy for our athletes. We're going to do a really good job of understanding what our expectation is, but also training our coaches and our student athletes and our parents on what it means to be a student athlete in Clark County and GRC. So I want to make sure to say that out loud because I've worked with Mr. Watkins and Mr. Yeast you know, our standard is the standard, and we're gonna hold everybody to that. So I appreciate the support, and, you know, we'll be very transparent with this.
Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Thomas,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Kaiser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider approval to the updated school nutrition pay schedule.
Okay, so last month we approved all the pay schedules, and food service had a 4% increase, but then we gave an 85-cent increase to all of our other hourly staff. So in doing so, that's more like a 6 to 7% increase. So we went back, and Dr. Muncie and I crunched her budget and made sure that she would be able to accommodate, and she would like to ask the board to approve an 85-cent instead of the 4% for her staff as well. Because she has managed her budget to do the 6 to 7% increase for her staff along with the rest of the district.
So when this doesn't change any of our numbers,
No,
correct?
it doesn't change anything that we talked about budget-wise before, because this is strictly food service, but we couldn't approve 85 cents last time because we had only done her budget for the 4%.
Okay.
So we have gone back to revisit specifically food services budget, and she can accommodate, instead of the 4%, the 85 cent an hour for her staff, please. So we just need this one table reapproved.
I'll make a motion to consider to approve the updated school nutrition pay schedule.
Motion by Mr. Kaiser.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dorsey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Acknowledgement of monthly CCPS financial update.
So we are still in a very good spot financially. We are 72% collection of revenues at this point, 65% of our spend, which is within 1% of what we were this time last year. So we are still tracking revenues and expenditures as we expect. And then tax dollars, we just received motor vehicle yesterday, so it is actually 97% collection for them. It's a little early with this board meeting to have gotten anything from the sheriff at this point, so those numbers are as reported, the 104 and 69% right now. Any questions on revenues or expenditures? All right.
Authorized payment of salaries and accounts payable.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hall, second by Mr. Dorsey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider approval of student fee schedules.
So my last housekeeping item before we start the new school year with financial stuff is Red Book requires any fees that are charged to students to be board approved. And so these are the fee schedules for your approval for each of the schools. And there is very minimal change to, I think RDC is the only one who made a change in adding some clubs and taking off some clubs of how they're operating now. Otherwise, the other schedules are exactly the same as they were this past year.
Anybody would like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the fee schedule for the schools, or whatever it says.
Motion by Ms. Hall,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Kaiser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider approval of the CCPS job description catalog. Dr. Parrish.
Yeah, instead of bringing back multiple job descriptions at a time like I first planned, Ms. Fithen had a great idea of bringing them all to a catalog version. So the 441-page version that we currently use and have access to online has now been condensed to just 81. So we've made some big progress, and this is the catalog of all the current jobs right now in Clark County Public Schools.
Do you know what is it a PDF or a Word document or Google?
Zip.
We uploaded it as a PDF.
PDF. Okay. I just want my iPad didn't want to
It's, yeah, it's
open
good.
it.
Because it's so big.
Yeah, it's.
My computer probably would open it. But we've looked at all these, right? Like
Most of them are the same things. We basically just updated a lot of the expectations as far as job responsibilities and abilities. So
And each one is now one page, correct?
Yes, every
Big
job
shout out to
description
Dr.
is
Boyd.
one page, yes.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It was.
They won't brag
Labor
enough, but it was
love.
a tremendous amount of work that I appreciate greatly.
Okay, would anybody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the updated
Job description.
job description catalog.
Motion by Ms. Hall,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Dorsey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Acknowledgement of the professional code of ethics for classified staff.
So we've always had a certified code of ethics that EPSB has pushed out and teachers sign off on to get their teaching certificate, but we've never had one for classified staff. So this basically is a code of conduct that all classified staff will review at the beginning of every year and sign off on the same basic professional expectations as the certified staff.
Love it.
Any questions? Not, would anybody like to?
It's an acknowledgement.
Oh, it's just an acknowledgement. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
All
I think
right.
it's a good idea.
Thank you.
But we used to do it years ago, so I think it's a good idea they both done.
Thank you.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
All right, so a couple updates. Summer is here and lots of wonderful things happening in Clark County Public Schools. Our literacy liftoff is housed at Shear. It's off and running. So big shout out to all of our teaching staff who are teaching phonics and reading 3 days a week for half a day, feeding kids twice, providing transportation. So if you see a big yellow bus out on the road, we're picking up a literacy liftoff student and bringing them in. So again, gigantic shout out to Ms. Fitton and her staff. That will be 3 weeks during June. It will also be 3 weeks during July, so 6 weeks total. Had a lot of great success. Again, our goal is to eliminate gaps before they ever happen, specifically with reading. If we can get them to read, again, by the 3rd grade, now they're reading for learning and not learning how to read, and it is a pivotal, crucial difference. So we've identified with some 1st and 2nd graders, so we're making sure are on grade level in 3rd grade. So also this week, theater camp, our first ever. Mr. Max, oh, he's gonna miss my brag. First ever theater camp is happening this week, so they've got their big performance showcase on Friday at 2 o'clock, so if you get free. If not, I'm scheduled to be there. I'll take pictures and I'll text you guys like I do sometimes. So big shout out to their staff for the first ever theater camp. Book bus scheduled to start tomorrow. That'll be, book bus has routes. We've got a flyer out. It's got several locations in the community where our parents, guardians can go there, meet the bus there 3 days a week. We'll also do a mid-session, second session in mid-July. So again, us providing, and it's the cutest thing ever, literally the bus parks, kids can get up on the bus. Our bus driver organizes it very well. They go through the bus, they pick out the books, they check them out, almost like a mobile library. And it is phenomenal. Also, our summer feeding, huge shout out to the entirety of the team, including Winchester PD and everyone else that helped us at Concrete on Thursdays from 3:30 to 5:30, and that is a hard window set by the state of Kentucky Food and Nutrition. We used to do summer feeding at locations during the day, but you would have to get there each and every day for breakfast, for lunch. And this way we can do more of a mass distribution. This will be week 2. We've made some tweaks and changes because we gave out over 1,000, right around 1,000 meals, 888, I believe is the number of gallons of milk that we distributed over a 2-hour period. So when I say it was a gigantic effort at food distribution, Dr. Muncie, she's not here right now, but I'm going to, her name's in lights somewhere as another superstar that we have here in the county.
And it's like a week's worth of food, right?
And it's a week's worth, so it's 7 meals. So you pick it up once during that window and you feed, and that's, you get a gallon of milk, for example, for each child.
Wow. Okay.
So if you have a family of 2, you get 2 gallons of milk for the week. If you have a family of 4, we had one family of one car of 8. They got 8 gallons of milk.
We give out 1,022 7-day meals.
1,022. So again, just want to, and it's the first time we've ever done it, and it's really just tremendous.
It's so important and needed for our community.
It absolutely is. Not every district's doing it this way, but we decided to go ahead and jump on board early because it's good for kids and families. And that's our North Star. That's why we're here. Summer care, we're also providing summer care to almost 140 participants this year. It's the first time we've run summer care, especially to that level. We got lots of activities planned, including hopefully Bouncy House Fridays at some point. We'll get that going. Lots of smiles out there, I can say that. But really, our staff's doing a fantastic job. It's kind of a part of our early learning director and our vision of providing opportunities for kids to be around learning experiences. That's really what we're all about. Art camp will be at Justice the 23rd to the 27th. I think we've got about 35 plus people scheduled for our art camps. It's the first year we've kind of run art camp. We had a different program the last couple of years, but we're going to be doing that ourselves, and so we'll kind of spread the love, joy, and social media presence out there for all those. And then a couple conferences in July, just to make you guys aware of, is our Career Technical Education, or CTE, state conference. We've got a group from our ATC, also our high school, some administrators. If you guys are interested in going to that, just let me know. We'll see if we've got any spots left. But we'll learn all things workforce ready, career technical education pathways, really trying to pour into what we offer our students in regards to workforce. And then Kentucky Association of School Administrators, KSA, we planned a district retreat in late July. I think that'll be I think we're going down, some of us going down the 22nd and stay Wednesday, Thursday, come back Friday. It's your all's version of KSBA for all of our administrators, administrative staff. So we're going to spend the whole day together. On Wednesday, the conference starts Wednesday evening, and then there'll be sessions that our administrators will sign up for, and that's a little. So just wanted to kind of give you a vision of some programs we're going to be running this summer, and then some ways that we're helping grow each other by some professional development as an administrative team and with our CTE programs.
And they're at is the Pritchard Committee that?
The groundswell, they're there now.
Okay. Yeah.
So Ms. Bush, we've got representatives, I think both principals for Concord are there. We've got counselors there from Baker. So I get pictures and updates throughout the day to day. So they're there at groundswell. I think it's in Paducah, is my
somewhere out west.
Out western Kentucky. So they're working with other school districts across the state of Kentucky that have the Community Readies Grant that we're running a lot of our after-school programming at Baker and Concord. We've got clubs going on, so it's providing funding for all of that, so our kids get access to those, again, learning experiences, trying to provide learning experiences for our kids.
All right, we are on consent agenda items. Anybody like to make a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Mr. Dorsey,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Hall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Adjourn to closed session. Consider adjournment to executive session per KRS 61.810 subsection 1 subsection F. Discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee, member, or student. Per KRS 156.557 subsection 6 subsection C. Any preliminary discussions relating to the evaluation of the superintendent by the board or between the
Because everybody's leaving the room.
between the board, by the board or between the board and the superintendent prior to the summative evaluation shall be conducted in closed session.
I'm making motion to adjourn to closed session.
Motion by Ms. Hall, second by who? Okay, Mr. Kaiser. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We are in closed session at 8:19.
Do we have a 5-minute recess?